Good morning. It is 9 a.m. on this Wednesday, April 1st. I'm Melissa Holmes, and we're streaming here on WGRZ Plus through 9:30 this morning. And we begin with this dramatic video out of the southern tier during yesterday's severe weather. This video was sent in by viewer Stephanie Shaw, showing all of that hail coming down hard in Gowanda yesterday afternoon, leaving streets and yards absolutely covered. If you have video or photos of the storm and the damage, you can send it to us using the Near Me feature in the 2 on Your Side mobile app. And flooding is causing quite a few road closures right now. According to NYTEC, road closures include part of River Road in Tonawanda that was closed, but it has since reopened. There's also flooding on Fisher Road in West Seneca, Stony Road in Lancaster, and several other roads closed this morning. We want to go right now to Lance Mellon with Traffic Tracker 2. Lance, you've said in all of the years that you've been doing traffic for us, you've never seen so many road closures as a result of flooding from storms.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Melissa. You know, yesterday evening I was seeing a lot of the videos folks were posting on social media, and I just had a feeling this morning was going to be quite busy, and it was. So we just had basically like a grocery list of roads closed, and still, I mean, it's been pretty consistent for some of these spots. They've been closed since yesterday evening, and part of that includes Transit Road, which has probably been the busiest spot throughout the day. Thankfully, volume has been reduced in a lot of areas, so not seeing the delays we were earlier between Walden and Gould Avenue, but still the flooded roadways closing transit in both directions. That's been our busiest spot. Also, Stony Road, like you mentioned, in Lancaster, closed between Genesee and Pleasant View, and Fisher Road in West Seneca between Langner and Orchard Park Road. These are areas in flood zones, basically. Stony Road is right over Ellicott Creek, and Fisher Road is right near Smoke Creek. And also down in Collins, where a lot of the video from yesterday came from, we still have closures on Taylor Hollow Road between Lenox and Gowanda State Roads, Brown Street between Route 39 and Rich Road, and then Ketchum between Stearns and Shirley Roads. So yeah, it's been a busy day, and those are the 6 closures we have now. But like you mentioned, River Road has been reopened in Tonawanda, and Route 31 in Lockport been reopened as well. So a little improvement in some spots, Melissa.
Yeah, and interesting to see those road closures all the way from down in Cattaraugus and Chautauqua County all the way up to Niagara County. No one was really spared yesterday.
Yeah.
What about other morning commute issues? Were the highways okay today, Lance? Everything else looking good?
Yeah, you know, we had a couple of accidents, and we still have one in place on the 90 East. This is just before the 190, so the right shoulder's still taken up. Looks like a tow truck just arrived. They're going to be getting them out of there soon, but that was backing us up over a mile all the way to beyond the 400. But we are in the later portion of the drive, so a lot of folks have already gotten to where they're getting to. So you can see just past the 400, things are pretty much up to speed, looking a lot more normal here through West Seneca. And we did have earlier delays on the 290 East, again, for an accident right near the Blue Water Tower, but that's been cleared a little while ago, so looking pretty nice here passing Sheridan Drive. Those delays have been reduced. I did have a disabled dump truck, just one spot I wanted to show you on the 190 North. It was just before the Peace Bridge, just beyond actually the Porter Avenue exit. It looks like a state trooper has just arrived. So that right shoulder taken up. Northbound lanes usually aren't too busy at this time, but something you got to remember to move over for. And at this point, that's about it, Melissa.
All right, very good. Lance, thanks for those updates this morning, and we will see you back here in Daybreak tomorrow morning. We appreciate it. We do want to check in with Natalie Foss now, who is live on Transit Road. That one problem spot that we've been telling you about all morning that Lance mentioned, from Gould, which is also Broadway, to Walden in Cheektowaga, closed because of the flooding. Natalie, good morning. What are you seeing out there?
Well, Melissa, it's funny that Lance says that this is the busiest spot we've been seeing all morning, because I can 100% agree. I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way so you can go ahead and see that that road flooded sign is right there. And I can tell you, I went down and looked at it a little bit. You can't get a very great shot of it because of all of this traffic right now, but I will tell you that that road under the viaduct is absolutely flooded. And there seems to be like cars are trying to go around those barriers, but then they realize the mistake that they're making and very quickly turn around and go ahead and just divert down Walden. So if your commute somehow takes you down Transit Road, I would say plan for that diversion and plan to spend a little extra time on your commute this morning. Now, like Lance said, there's been flooding all throughout Western New York. In the city of Buffalo, road crews and emergency responders were keeping an eye on flooding levels all night and into this morning. The city is working alongside the National Weather Service, just watching problem areas that tend to see rising water and flooding, especially with all that rain yesterday, just in case they'd have to coordinate some sort of emergency response.
We have all the emergency services, DPW, fire, and police going around through their regular routine patrols, responding to and responding from emergencies. They would check out areas that are normally prone to flooding conditions. They will check on the various waterways to make sure are they rising or not rising, and that will all get communicated back through the dispatch system.
The city tells us until all of those threats are dealt with and they feel comfortable, they'll be watching the cameras from the Situation Room. They said they also have the ability to send up drones to be able to check on flooding to make sure that streets are all ready to go before they go ahead and open them back up to traffic. This is a great opportunity to remind you that if you see any high water levels and there isn't a road closed, maybe find a different route anyway. I wouldn't go ahead and just drive your car into that because you don't know how deep that water is and you could end up in a sticky situation or an emergency situation. Now again, if you drive down transit to get to work, get to school, or you just use it on your daily route, I would say go ahead and find a different route because the traffic here is pretty intense this morning, Melissa. And as people are diverting onto Walden, it's also pretty intense. So I would say maybe find a different route, but most definitely plan to sit in some traffic.
All right, Natalie, thanks for the heads up. We appreciate those live reports all morning long. In other news this morning, a Dunkirk man accused of shooting a police officer and barricading himself with a hostage in an hours-long standoff is now charged with attempted murder. Officers say it happened last week at a home on Franklin Avenue in Dunkirk, where they were initially investigating drug activity. And when they went in the home, they say 39-year-old Christopher Marcinkowski shot at them and hit an officer in his bulletproof vest. Marcinkowski then allegedly held a woman hostage inside the home for 7 hours. He eventually surrendered and let the hostage go unharmed. Police say Marcinkowski is a repeat offender who has served time in state and federal prison for gun and drug charges. Peter Gervais is facing life in prison for sex trafficking, but his sentencing is now on hold until at least April 24th. The 3-week delay centers around his former attorney, Stephen Cohen, in a separate case. The government labeled Cohen as an unindicted co-conspirator for allegedly trying to keep a witness from testifying. That witness, Crystal Quinn, later died of a fatal overdose. Cohen was not charged with a crime, but Gervais's current lawyers argue that Cohen's alleged actions created a constitutional conflict of interest. But prosecutors say it's just a delay tactic. Judge Lawrence Villardo says he did grant the delay in order to protect the integrity of the sentencing. In health news this morning, local environmental advocates say a new report confirms dangerous levels of lead contamination in the yards of many homes in Buffalo's east side. The group Open Buffalo, with help from state and federal agencies, tested the soil outside more than 100 homes on the east side. They say the average lead level in the soil was nearly 650 parts per million. That's about 3 times higher than the EPA recommends.
We have filed this report and our recommendations with the Common Council officially. We've also sent it to our partners at the DEC with the state. We also want comprehensive testing and mapping of soil contamination in Buffalo. We want that to be publicly accessible. And we also obviously want to have dedicated public funding for folks to have resources to remediate their yards.
Lead poisoning can cause serious mental and physical health problems, especially in children. As the city of Buffalo continues to deal with its financial troubles, yesterday the Common Council approved more than $1.5 million in legal settlements. The list of claims approved by the council includes $245,000 for a couple after a man was hurt when a city-owned building partially collapsed. The biggest claim was for $700,000. The settlement was for a man named Bruce McNeil. It's a civil settlement involving Buffalo police in which his civil rights were violated and he was falsely arrested and maliciously prosecuted. The settlements mean that all of those cases will not go to trial. The plans to auction off the bankrupt Weineberg campus in Gettsville are now on hold. According to our partners at Buffalo Business First, attorneys say the company holding the mortgage changed its mind and no longer supports the sale. That means the nearly 40-acre property will not go up for auction as planned. The campus filed for bankruptcy last year after closing its skilled nursing and assisted and independent living facilities. And now a federal trustee is pushing to dismiss the case or force liquidation. A hearing is set for April 13th. All right, 9:09 now, 36 degrees. Patrick, what a temperature difference from yesterday.
Yeah.
And of course, a precip difference as well, as we are seeing cloudy skies today and no rain forecasted, right?
That's what we're saying.
Are you changing your mind?
No, well, you'll see what I'm talking about. The rain is going to come close. It should stay out of Buffalo, but if you live in Salamanca, if you're in Ashford, if you're in Jamestown, there you might see some showers. Otherwise, it should be dry today. Nothing like yesterday was it was round after round of thunder showers. The hail, the heavy rain, and boy, the frequent lightning, and it's quite something, you know. My house, about an inch of rain in a little over an hour. It was crazy. Tomorrow, we're going to see a window, like a 2-hour window of showers. Midday, early afternoon is what we're thinking. And then on Friday, a much warmer day, low 70s, and perhaps a couple of showers here or there, but no washouts by any stretch. There are the dry conditions. See, this is what I'm talking about. We're keeping an eye, though, on this rain arcing into northern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. This rain is going to shift east and graze the southern tier with some light rain today. How far north it gets has been kind of a question we've had for a few days now. We really think it's going to stay south of Buffalo. By the way, we're also watching the weather at Cape Canaveral. This is, of course, where the launch of Artemis is going to take place this evening. You can see some, we call it, little showers off the Atlantic here that may move in, but launch time is later on today, and it's supposed to be A-OK. There's Cape Canaveral right there, and it looks like, at least so far, A-OK. You know how big of a weather issue launches is, of course. Weather may have been an issue with the Challenger back in '86. That was a weather-related situation. So they pay very close attention to weather conditions that take off, and so far things look pretty good. All right, as we go through today, notice that rain getting very close into southern parts of Erie County, kind of getting right about to Buffalo. We still think there's enough of a northerly wind that will keep the atmosphere fairly dry here. But as you can see, it's very close. We're going to go mostly cloudy, if not totally cloudy today, with some rain possibly for the southern tier. Now, tonight, mostly cloudy skies, a full moon, I believe, and then we've got some rain chances tomorrow. As I mentioned, it's like a 1 or 2 hour window of some showers moving through, and then they'll move on out of here as temperatures go from the 40s today back to the 60s tomorrow, kind of like where we were yesterday. A 20-degree drop to 25 to almost 30 degrees cooler today compared to yesterday. Will be about 20 degrees warmer tomorrow. All right, forecast, mostly cloudy. We did have a little fog this morning. That's gone. Cooler. Tonight, mostly cloudy. There might be a few scattered showers, but it appears that might be holding off until tomorrow afternoon, Thursday. Friday, Saturday, we're in the 70s. It does get cooler on Sunday. Next week, spring break. Not off to a very flattering start. Dingus Day, low 40s. Dry though, so okay. There could be a few, maybe just snow showers, rain or snow showers with temperatures in the 30s to around 40 degrees, Melissa, on Tuesday.
Yeah, Patrick, we have had spring breaks that have been colder than February breaks.
We did. I did what year was that? It was like 2017 or 18, where, I think it was 18, where April was way cooler than the winter break in February.
Yeah. This one won't be that way, but still
hopefully
pretty
not.
close.
Yeah.
All right, Patrick, thank you. Well, stay with us. Right after the break, an important message that all parents will want to hear regarding the health of their children, and a surprising new study about sepsis. We have one of the top pediatricians of all of Western New York here with us live to talk about it. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. It is 9:16, and we have a health alert that parents should know about. A new study funded by the CDC is sounding the alarm about the impact that sepsis is having on children nationwide. More than 1,800 pediatric patients died from sepsis in 2022. It was only until recently that doctors were actually able to reliably track sepsis cases for children across the country. And joining me now is Dr. Benny Joyner, who is the chair of pediatrics at UB's Jacobs School of Medicine and the pediatrician in chief at Golisano Children's Hospital. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you, Melissa, for having me.
Yeah, to talk about this really important issue that parents need to know about. We just saw some of the symptoms posted, but again, explain to us what is sepsis for those who don't know, and what are the warning signs, first of all, that parents should be looking for?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think it's such a complex question, and it goes to some of the reasons why this study was so important. It's really two parts. There's an infection that occurs in the body, and then the second part of it is the body's response to the infection. So we can find the infection, we can diagnose the infection pretty reliably, but the hard part is how does the body respond to that infection? And I think that's what becomes really challenging for us to understand.
Okay, and what is the biggest takeaway of this study about how many children have died from sepsis? Yeah,
so I think the biggest takeaway is that it's such a complex disease, and that we are getting better at detecting it through our ability to get information from the medical records. And I think all of us working together as children's hospitals, as systems, are really allowing us to better identify those symptoms that you just highlighted.
Yeah, what made it so hard to track before, and why is this just coming out now?
Yeah, because if you can imagine that we can, as I said, get the infection or get the bacteria, get the virus diagnosis, but the hard part is what are the other signs and symptoms? How do we objectively, or how do we independently say, okay, this is a high fever, and then collect all that information from everyone? And what we're able to do now is to collect that information through our electronic medical records.
Okay, and what about here in Buffalo? Are we seeing higher numbers than in other parts of the country, or lower perhaps?
Yeah, no, we're not seeing higher or lower numbers. It's been pretty stable over the past several years. The issue is that it's two parts, like I talked about. It's the infection and then the body's response to the infection. So while at sometimes we'll have increases in infections like RSV or other types of infections, that puts those children at risk for getting sepsis, and because it's the body's reaction to those infections that causes that.
How do doctors go about preventing it? I mean, with treating a child for RSV is bad enough, but then to make sure that it doesn't get to the point that sepsis is contracted. Yeah,
so I think that the biggest thing is vigilance. So being aware of it, recognizing the signs and symptoms, and really thinking about that. You know, we have a saying, I work in the intensive care unit, and we have a saying, especially for kids who come in sick, we really aren't sure what's going on. It's sepsis, 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 and then we think about other things. And so really being aware of the signs and symptoms, being vigilant that it could turn into sepsis, and then honestly for parents, it's prevention, like making sure their kids don't get sick, right? So getting vaccinated on time so that you don't get the respiratory illness that puts you in the hospital, that sets you up.
Yeah, and what about more preventative steps that parents can take? You just mentioned the vaccinations. What else should they do to protect their child?
I know, it's so hard because we don't want to walk around, chasing after them, but at the same time, I think it's important that you wash your hands with soap and water often. If you have a big cut or scrape, to not simply ignore it, to watch it. If after a couple days you don't notice any healing, or you notice these red streak marks that don't look normal, or if it still is really, really painful, those are signs and symptoms that maybe I need to get this looked at by my doctor. And then again, I think the biggest thing that we've learned is to trust your gut. If your son or daughter, moms and dads know their kids the best, but if your son or daughter isn't quite acting right, is sleepier than normal, is really difficult to wake up maybe, but has those symptoms, those unexplained shakes and chills and high fevers, it's time to sort of call and get them evaluated. Okay,
and in case we missed the symptoms there, again, you said lethargy, and what are some of the other symptoms that parents should be looking for?
Really, really high fevers. But that in and of itself isn't a bad thing. As we jokingly say sometimes, fever is your friend. It's your body signal that it's trying to fight off an infection. So that's the first thing, monitoring that. But also looking at how are they acting? Are they acting confused? Are they acting disoriented? Are they not acting like themselves? Are they sleepier than normal? And then because it's the body's response, all of the other organ signs, the heart rate is really, really fast. They're really breathing abnormally, maybe more shallow than normal or faster than normal. It looks like they're working. They're sweating profusely, for an unexplained reason. a lot of stomach upset. And then a big thing is that they can get dehydrated through this, so they're not going to the bathroom nearly as much as they used to.
Okay. And finally, with now having this information, how can it help doctors like you and those at Golisano Children's Hospital, protect children even more?
Yeah, I think one, it's critical to have this information because as we are able to look at the data within the electronic medical record, we're better refining our analysis or our diagnosis of sepsis. Here are the criteria. Here are those things that make sepsis more likely. Here's the criteria that make bad sepsis more likely. And when we start to see these things, we need to jump on it. So it allows us to, it arms ourselves with information to be able to act quickly.
Wonderful. Dr. Joyner, thanks so much for being here with us live this morning to share this really critical information for us. We appreciate it.
Appreciate the time.
All right, stay with us. We've got a lot more coming up right after the break here on Daybreak. Welcome back to Daybreak, everyone. In just a few days, the Buffalo Transportation's Pierce Arrow Museum is going to be opening for the season. Really cool stuff in there. If you haven't been yet, you should really check it out for their vintage cars, bikes, and other unique pieces like the Jello wagon. Have you ever seen that?
So when I was there, I don't know if I saw that, but that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And then there's the hippopotamus vehicle too. Or no, was it a the hippo mobile. Kevin tweeted about it. We'll see.
Okay. Speaking of Kevin, he was there this morning to give us a preview. Take a look.
Always commemorating Buffalo's history, Western New York's proud automotive heritage. This is Jim Sandoro. We are back at the Buffalo Transportation Pierce Arrow Museum. How you doing?
Wonderful, Kevin. Thank you.
Big year for Buffalo.
Big year. It's 125 years since the Pan American Exhibition. 9 million people came to Buffalo for that summer. President McKinley came to visit. We have the carriage similar to the one he rode in, a Brun carriage made in Buffalo. And his last ride was taken in the Brun carriage. Pierce Arrow, 125 years also. And we just got a 1902 Pierce. So it's a big celebration year for us. A lot of buses coming, over almost 150 buses. And people from all over the country recognize the great history we have here in Buffalo.
Okay, let me tell you something. I am not an automotive enthusiast, but I'm not a gearhead. I can't help but walk around here and just be stunned by the collection that you have. And this is more about automotive history. It's really about Western New York's history, and even Americana is represented here.
Yes, yeah. Buffalo was the richest city in the world in 1900. We had more millionaires per capita than any city in the whole world. And that's why you have those Delaware Avenue homes that had one family and now have 12 apartments. It was fabulous, fabulous area.
What's the reaction you get from people when they walk around here?
They're awestruck. I'm sort of awestruck. I walk around and I say, how did my wife and I ever accumulate all this stuff? You know, it's a labor of love for both of us.
Yeah, God bless your wife too.
Yeah, thank you.
And your hours are expanding soon, starting this weekend.
Yes, yeah. We'll be open Friday and Saturday this week, 11 to 4, and starting next week, Thursday through Saturday, 11 to 4.
Awesome. Jim, appreciate it. Thanks
Thanks,
for spreading the word about Buffalo's proud automotive history. On your side at the Buffalo Transportation Pierce Arrow Museum, I'm Kevin O'Neill, Channel 2 News.
My dad's dad has some works of art in there.
Is that Ross?
Ross Holmes.
Ross Holmes.
Yes. It's my brother's middle name because it's always transferred down into families, right? But yeah, he was a pinstriper for Pierce Arrow cars. And so some of the cars that he's done are.
Is that what they call it? Because pinstripers were also known as nurses, right? A pinstriper.
Candy striper.
Oh, was it a candy striper?
We're nurses.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. But so
you're thinking like pinstripes.
Yeah, but that was the name.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was a pinstriper.
Oh,
for
cool.
Vehicles.
No
like
way.
A painter. Yeah.
And here in Buffalo?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes. So there you go.
The Holmes family, let me tell you.
Holmes history there,
lots
and
of
up
fun
at
facts.
lots of race car drivers also where the Holmes is up at Lancaster Speedway.
You told me about that too. Wow, that's really cool.
Yes.
Very proud.
And here I do this. Not artistic and certainly not a race car driver, that's for sure. Okay, anyway, how about a race to the playoffs? The Sabres are almost there. They hit a milestone in their push for the playoffs. 100 points in the season as of yesterday, only the 10th time in franchise history that they've hit the triple digits. First time since 2010, and now the Sabres are just one game away from clinching their first playoff berth in 15 years.
We're just showing anguish and pain.
Sam Carrick really hurt his arm
in a fight.
In a fight, he fell the wrong way. And so they're going to check him out today and find out just how bad it is. But he's been so good. So hopefully it's not going to keep him out too long. Because as we checked, the playoffs start April 18th.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Also.
And a win, by the way, like you said, tomorrow night clinches.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. We want to move on because we don't have much time. So we are going to move on, right? We don't have much time? Yes. Okay. Here we go. Patrick, do you remember what we talked about yesterday? Take a look if you missed it.
No idea. What did we talk about? It happened to me this morning. I'm driving into work and I'm hearing a song that I think was like kind of unique to me. And I'm like, okay, if I was in this is what I would sing, hoping that they would be like, oh, that's an interesting choice.
What was it?
Oh, it's nothing that you would.
Well, now we all want to know what it is.
It's a group called Sea Wind, blah, blah, blah. But how about Lady by Little River Band? Oh my God, you're going to get the chairs to spin immediately.
In your dreams.
What about you? What would you sing?
What are you saying? Doesn't matter what I want to sing. We want to hear you sing, Patrick. I believe we have it.
Oh, nice. I'm telling you, they just don't make music like this anymore.
We're ready.
They don't. Look around you. Turn. If you
keep singing.
Oh, we got to get to the melody. And you don't have to use the words. You just have to go do 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 da. Look around.
My chair turned for you, Patrick.